It has been 6 years since the last main entry in the Disgaea series came out, aside from some ports. This series has always been about creating a wacky experience in the strategy RPG genre with an overabundance of deep mechanics. That remains true for Disgaea 6 at its core, but the team at NES also streamlined a lot of things, seemingly in the hopes of attracting new players. While this game may be the most accessible yet, old fans like myself may find some problems with it. To begin, the game starts out with the main hero, Zed, telling the overlord of the underworld about his exploits trying to take out the God of Destruction. The game then is told through a series of flashbacks, which end up having the same result. Zed dying, you getting transported to a new world after being resurrected, and having to repeat the process all over again because the God of Destruction is near impenetrable. It's not the strongest narrative in the series between the actual plot and characters within, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing, as the writing does have its humorous moments. The gameplay mostly remains unchanged in theory. Players can enter the battlefield with 10 characters ranging from given story heroes or ones that players can create from a variety of classes and monsters. Issue orders, fight enemies until they fall with a crazy amount of over-the-top attacks, repeat. Battlefields are nicely varied, and on that note, the new polygonal artwork translates very nicely from the old sprites. Performance is an issue on the Switch, which is a big problem. There are 3 settings you can set the game, which favors graphics, performance such as frame rates, and a balance setting for an in-the-middle approach. Balance is the most obvious mode to go with, but I more wish that these settings weren't there to begin with. It's not like there's a Switch Pro that could better take advantage of these modes, right Nintendo? Haha, yeah, maybe the game will perform better once that's out. Performance and jokes aside, let's check out what's new to the series. The most significant feature is the auto battle, which not only has characters act on their own, but they can do it at breakneck speeds. Battles that would usually take 20 minutes or more in the previous games can now be over in minutes. Not every map will work well with this feature. The AI is not smart enough to avoid tiles that will kill them, for example, so it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. I love the auto battling feature. I love it in games in general. However, Disgaea 6 goes a step beyond that by allowing the game to literally play itself. You can choose a map to play, select auto battle as well as auto repeat, and it will have the AI repeat that same stage over and over again until you manually quit it or the party dies. These features, among others, make the game feel more like an RTS rather than a strategy RPG, or even one of those mobile gacha games. You can choose to play Disgaea 6 normally, but there are just so many extra mechanics that favor this auto battle system that it's very apparent this is how NES seemingly wants you to play. They gave players the option to become gods with the snap of a finger, which will indeed attract many new players if that was their goal, who perhaps thought the old games were too hard or too complicated. At least now you can let the game figure some of its own stuff out if you're more interested in the story. So again, I'm torn, but my review boils down to this. To old fans, you might not like the changes, as it makes the game very easy, but also more complex than it needs to be in some other ways. To new players, is it more accessible? Yes. Does that make the game better? Well, like the game, that answer is very complicated. If you want a pure strategy game on the Switch, I recommend checking out Disgaea 5 more. If you want something more casual and experimental, then Disgaea 6 is the game for you. I think future games in the series should go back to basics and refine what makes Disgaea such a special series. More does not always equal better, but for Disgaea 6, the opposite seems to be its motto. I had fun, don't get me wrong, but it was a confusing experience for my heart. Did you like that video? If you did, please like, subscribe, and spread the good word of ReActionExaminer. If you want to read more of my stuff, you can find a plethora of my articles over at The Gamer and Game Rant. All of those links and more are in the show notes below. Thanks for watching!